How easy would it be for Scotland to become an EU member state? There is no real precedent for this, and there's no provision within EU law to tell us what happens. Scotland would need a change in the European treaties in order to join, and every one of the Union's 28 members needs to agree to it, giving each member an effective veto. In its favour, Scotland is already compliant with EU law, so negotiations in that sense would not be that difficult. However, things get tricky when it comes to renegotiating some of the UK's historic benefits. Britain has a unique opt-out when it comes to the euro. Scottish nationalists would like that opt-out to apply to them. It might not. And the UK gets a substantial rebate from Europe. No guarantees there. Spain, Belgium and Italy all have their own domestic worries over independence. They may oppose Scotland's accession. The Yes campaign see no great problem with negotiations, but an independent Scotland would still have to cross some uncharted waters in any voyage to separate EU membership.
Well, I'm joined from Madrid by the Spanish Minister for European Affairs, Inigo Méndez de Vigo. Good evening. I wonder if you can tell me, if there is a yes vote in Scotland, what is the likelihood of Scotland being in the EU?
Good evening from Madrid. Well, it is crystal clear that any part of a member state that leaves that member state is out of the European Union, and if they want to apply again, they would have to follow the procedure of Article 49 of the treaties. That means the status of candidate should be granted to the new candidate. This decision has to be taken unanimously. Then it has to go into a negotiation of the 35 chapters. At the end of this negotiation, there's also a vote by unanimity. Then if, again, this is granted, it has to go to the European Parliament, where a vote is taken by absolute majority of its members. And if, at the end of the process, a new vote is granted, it has to go to ratification process through the 28 member states. When I was listening to myself, I was saying a lot of ifs, you know, more ifs than a poem by Rudyard Kipling, I fear.
But what we do know is that Scotland is EU compliant. Tell me, would Spain block Scotland's entry?
No, you know, this is not a question of Spain or of any other member states. You have to follow the rules, and the rules are very clear. You have to comply to Article 49 and follow the procedure to become a member state of the European Union, following the process I've just mentioned, with a lot of steps taken by unanimity. It's a process that takes more or less 5 years. The newly elected President of the Commission, Mr. Juncker, said there's a candidate now to become a member of the European Union. He said, Juncker, the other day before the European Parliament, it wouldn't happen in the next 5 years. So there you have a hint of how long it might take.
But tell me, do you think that in order to be allowed entry or to negotiate even from within, Scotland would have to commit to using the euro?
Well, you know, the euro is not just another policy of the Union. There is an aim of all member states to share a common currency. We are now 19 member states that share the common currency, with an exception. The United Kingdom has an opt-out granted back in 1995 to go out of the euro. But I don't see in the future for any member state to be granted that possibility. If any member state, if any candidate puts that on the table, I can tell you that all member states will look at it very carefully.
Isn't part of the reason that you appear to be doubtful about Scotland's membership of the European Union the fact that you have got your own problems in Spain, for example, with Catalonia, and that actually you do not want any encouragement of any kind of secession? The difference is that Scotland is already a nation.
Well, you know, the question you mentioned in Spain and the Scottish are completely different. for historical reasons, and for a legal constitutional issue. The Westminster allowed this referendum to take place. We respect it. In Spain, the constitution is our legal framework. The referendum, a consultation of self-determination, was rejected by the Spanish Cortes. So if such a referendum should take place in Spain, first we had to revise the Spanish constitution.